Hello, and welcome back to the SOPRANO podcast. I am your host, and my name is Heidi, and it's great to be here, because guess what, you guys? Woo! We got another snow day on the horizon, and what that means is we have a beverage, so buckle up. I also have, if you can hear in the background, some West Side Story playing tonight, and I figured, I don't necessarily care about copyright strikes. I don't necessarily care about, monetizing my videos. So if I want to put on a record every now and then, I want to have some music in the background. So you probably can't even hear it, but, so that's what we're doing tonight. We're listening to some music, we're having a beverage. Today was kind of a weird day. I have a couple of things that I want to talk to you guys about, actually. I wrote some things down, which is something that I really don't do. But, yeah, so today was really struggling, just in general, to bring myself to practice. I don't know why. It's just, some days, it's like a battle to bring yourself to the keyboard. And, we got in a mini session, barely even anything. I do want to do some more, God, so many notifications. I do want to do some more stuff before I go to bed and things like that. But also, I don't have to go into work tomorrow. Woo! So I'm pumped about that. If you are also on Long Island, congrats. We're having another storm. I'm kind of into this. Like, if it means I get, a 3-day weekend every couple of weeks, I'm into it. And it's not that much snow for me, TBH. In terms of... Okay, well, there it goes. I literally just took one freaking sip of that thing, and I already dropped the straw. Okay. Well, you know what? It's just gonna stay on the ground, because... Do you ever drop something while you're sitting in a desk chair and it just disappears into an abyss? It's not under my desk. It's not under my feet. Where did it just go? Oh, it rolled away. So it's over by the couch. We're not going to get it just now because I just don't feel like it, okay? We're going to leave that for future Heidi to get. She's going to get it. She's going to take care of it. No worries. No worries. Have you seen that TikTok? Yeah, so what are you guys doing today? What's the sitch? What's the situation? I feel like February is so disgusting sometimes. Mainly, not even the weather. I could care less, really. But I couldn't care less, sorry. I just hate the whole, first leg of the getting back into the groove. Do you know what I mean? I am all for a groove. I'm all for getting back into the swing of things. I'm all for that. But for some reason, from time to time, I'm aware that I'm in a groove, and it kind of freaks me out. I kind of get grossed out by it. I kind of get put off by the whole process of a routine and a schedule. And I think that's part of it. People get freaked out by schedules and routines. But I don't know. Sometimes February really shows itself as you're just doing the same thing every single day, every single week for all of February. And surprise, spoiler alert, it's going to be the same through March, baby. And probably even a little bit worse. So, yeah. I've got to learn this opera, you guys. I've got the arias down, pretty much. And I've got a couple of the recits down. But it's just a lot of recit, y'all. You just gotta plug away at that recit. And the recit is the most important part from all of the people that I've heard from or learned from. recit's like the backbone of an opera. It's where most of the story gets told. So it's really important, and I feel like a lot of singers want to just we want to sing those arias, babe. We want to do it. What was that sentence? We want to sing all the arias, but you can't neglect the recit. Yeah. So okay, I have something that I wanted to talk about. Sorry. Okay, so I listened to this podcast earlier today, which is super, super, like, one of my favorites. I just love it so much. If you know anything about Good Mythical Morning, you probably have, like, an idea of it or whatever, and you've seen these two guys, Rhett and Link, on YouTube, and they've created a name for themselves. They've created a brand. They've been on YouTube for many, many years. They're very, like, family friendly, but also, like, you know, they're still dudes. Like, so it's funny. It's good stuff, and I like their content. I think it's really good, and just, I don't know. I like what they have to say. And that's just on YouTube. So when I listened to their podcast, I was surprised, I don't remember, sometime last year, to hear an episode. Oh, it was crazy. It was like they were getting into religion, which is something that is like, you know, if you start talking about that on a podcast, I'm like, girl, you better stop. But they started talking about it, and it was really interesting because they both are white, straight males who grew up in the South, and they have very specific religious backgrounds. They both grew up in the evangelical Christian church, and they get so into it, dude. You gotta look into these things. This podcast from them. It's called Ear Biscuits. And it's really good. It's really good. They get into it, and that episode where they first talked about it was, I want to say it was a while ago, like maybe a couple months ago. A while ago for sure. And there was like some public uproar about it because a lot of younger kids, a lot of younger people, I don't want to say kids because I don't really know their demographic, but a lot of younger people watch them, and a lot of younger people make up their audience. So people, you know, these individuals' parents were like, oh, you're trying to force my kids away from the church. You're trying to convert my kids to, you know, not be Christians anymore. You're trying to talk to them about religion and whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not your place. And in their most recent episode, they address this, and they talk about it in a really, really well thought out way, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, dude. It's pretty hardcore to have the guts to talk about religion as a public figure. You know? It's really, really ballsy, to be perfectly honest, because you're opening yourself up to a lot of criticism. And they're both aware of this. So, yeah, if you're interested in that kind of conversation, and let me tell you, like, just to be frank about my personal beliefs, I am, you know, not trying to convert anybody to anything these days. So I'm not trying to be like, go listen to this religious podcast. It's not a religious podcast. They're not trying to do this. They're trying to talk to you about how they essentially escaped the evangelical Christian church, and talk about the shortcomings of it, and talk about the plot holes and like all of the things that you know, its inherent connection to racism, and its inherent connection to a lot of really problematic things that they are privy to inside knowledge of. Like, they have grown up in it. I think at one point Rhett was like preaching. They might have gone into like before they got engineering degrees, I think they got into ministry. I'm pretty sure. Oh. Sorry, I'm distracted. Gorgeous. But yeah, so really interesting conversations to be had, and they do not leave any stone unturned. So if you're worried that it's going to be like, you know, two white guys talking about religion, I mean, technically it is, but these two guys have a really unique perspective, and they can give you insight into, like, what the thought process is. And I think actually also Rhett had, I think it's a pretty, I'm actually going to look it up, because he had like a he wrote like a letter to his past self and published it or posted it or something. Rhett letter. Oh yes. Oh my god, you guys. So check this out. This guy, Rhett McLaughlin, he wrote this thing called A Letter to a White Man. You should look it up. And I'm just going to read you a little bit of the introduction. And if you're interested in reading this kind of thing, I highly encourage you to go read it. So here we go. It wasn't until relatively recently I began to recognize the racist ideas that I've carried with me for most of my life. While I've still got a lot to learn and unlearn, I'm beginning to come to grips with my contribution to the continued inequities in America. Because I'm not so far removed from those former patterns of thought, I could hear the old me repeating tired platitudes as I watched the tragic video of George Floyd's murder and the nationwide protests that followed. As an exercise in the further personal growth and as an effort to speak to those with backgrounds like me, I've written a letter to my former self to help him process these current events. So, if you haven't gathered it, it was written May 31st. I'm seeing here May 31st, 2020. Yep. And yeah, wow. It's pretty hardcore. It's a pretty lengthy read. If you want to read it, I definitely recommend it. I've read it before and I remember having a lot of good reactions to it. It's interesting because, you know, it's not necessarily like we ever want to hear the perspective of like some white guy talking about his perceptions of race, but yeah, it's a good read. It's an interesting thought chain and perspective, and I recommend it, and I also recommend their podcast, very much so. Also, the other guy in this duo here, he said something today that I kind of really resonated with in terms of this podcast that I have here. He said, in reference to like talking about things on the podcast or online, and he was like, to be in this medium and to not be true to yourself will eat away at you. And that really means a lot to me, because I think that so many people are so frustrated with their perception of like online presence and like what you have to do to be accepted online or what's acceptable to be posted online. And it's like, you know, whatever you feel you need to post online or whatever you want to do, you better do it to the fullest extent of yourself, or else you're gonna be so upset. And I'm constantly going back and forth about this podcast because I can feel that there's something on the horizon, whether I'm gonna like switch platforms over to Twitch, I don't know yet, or I'm going to, you know, just post once a week or something. I'm not sure. But once I figure that out, like, I think it's pretty clear to me that I'm going to be true to that belief and true to that change, whatever it is. And the old me would be like, oh, well, you know, what if people are upset that I moved it? Or what if people are this? What if people are that? And I'm like, listen, if this podcast has taught me anything, it's like, it's just that quote. It's literally like, you have to be true to yourself or it'll eat away at you. And this is 100% the truth up in here. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but so yeah, you guys, that's kind of where we're at right now. I also, oh my God, I do this all day where I'm like, I'll take a screenshot of something or I'll take a picture of something and be like, oh, I need to talk about it on the podcast, or like, oh, I should totally bring that up on the podcast. Let's see. Let's go through my pictures right now. What are my screenshots lately? Oh God. There's some stuff that I'm going to talk about with a guest this weekend that I don't want to talk about just yet. Oh, God. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to save this for this weekend. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like leading you on, but there's some things that are just better talked about with another person because I don't know. I love a good chat with someone else, and we're gonna have a special guest on the podcast this weekend, and this person is going to have a lot of really interesting insight into some of the stuff that I'm looking at. I hope you can hear this. I hope you can hear this record. Okay. So, guys, we're going to be moving right along in our segment here. We're going to get into our Minute Sketches segment. And today, we are continuing with our Russian feel. I think. Yes, Russian. This guy's Russian for sure. Which, RIP to my pronunciation. But here we go. We have Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. I feel like I do know this person. So, as we listen to Lenny B over here on the record player, we're going to read about Rimsky-Korsakov. If you're new to this segment, welcome, welcome. We take a little time every day to read about a composer, and we take all of this information with a grain of salt because that's just what we do. This is from the 30s. So, here we go. His subtitle is One Russian Who Dared to Write Happy Music. Ugh, rude. Okay, here we go. From navy to notation is a step for psychological 7-league boot, especially when one is more than 27 years old. But Rimsky-Korsakov, like the legendary heroes upon whom he fondly dwelt in his music, won fame, fortune, and his loved one by abandoning the sea for his chosen work, music. Born of aristocratic parents in Petrograd, March 18, 1844, he took up piano and violoncello, as every youngster of his caste did, merely as a pleasing accomplishment. His education completed, and he fitted neatly into a naval uniform and his naval duties. But in his free time spent with his friends, Mussorgsky, I'm so bad at Russian. Mussorgsky. That's what we're going with. Borodin and Balakriev. He became so passionately imbued with their idea of creating national Russian music that he had no thought for anything else, at least all of the Navy. Thanks to the discipline of those years, he filled in the gaps of his musical education so thoroughly that in 1871 he became professor of composition in Petrograd University, directed numerous concerts, became inspector of marine bands, an echo from his Navy days, and took pen in hand for a steady flow of compositions. Oh my God, I'm laughing so hard at this record. Boy. Oh, yeah, killing me. Anyway, his marriage with Nadeja Pourgold, concert pianist, united her talent and passion for national music with his own. His folktale operas The Maid of Pjov, The Snow Maiden, Malada Sadko, the Tsar's Bride, Tsar Sultan, Kachki the Immortal, Le Coq d'Or, to name a few, derive from the inexhaustible storehouse of Russian legends. I want to know more about Russian legends. Like, I know Anastasia and stuff, but... The program music suites for orchestra, Antar, Russian Easter, Scherzada, are a kaleidoscope of gay bandanas, tambourines, colored Easter eggs, and Arabian Nights dreams. His orchestration of Boris Godunov and other unfinished works of Mussorgsky was a tardy but ineffective tribute to the friend whose genius was powerfully crude as his own and was polished and suave. He turned towards the public only the bright side of that Russian picture whose reverse Tchaikovsky and Mussorgsky so pitilessly exposed. Although his later years were saddened by intrigues which deprived him for a while of his position at the conservatory, his last opera, Le Coq d'Or, was as full of dash and humor as any of those written in happier days. He had the satisfaction of seeing it performed, despite opposition to its supposed political ironies, before asthma and angina pectoris caused his death on June 21, 1908. Okay, guys. Looks like we're looking that up. And also the pronunciation of that. It looks like... I don't know. We're gonna look up the pronunciation. Angina? Okay. Here we go. How do you pronounce this word, though? Okay, it's basically just chest pain. So, it's chest pain or pressure, usually due to insufficient blood flow to the heart. It's due to obstruction or spasm of the arteries, that blood supply, heart muscle, blah, blah, blah. Other causes include anemia, abnormal heart rhythms, and heart failure. Yeah, we're gonna have to look up how to pronounce that. How to pronounce... Let's see, you guys. I always do this. I literally always do this. I can't not know. Let's hear it. It is angina. Listen to the guy. Listen to the robot guy say it. Angina. I'm literally 12 years old. But, like, come on. That's what it's called. So, maybe you guys need to grow up. All right, team. We're killing it. We're learning so much. I really do feel like, maybe it's just because I'm reading this crap, but like, I really do feel like I'm learning more about these composers because I'm doing like an independent study almost on them than I would if I was just learning about this in a class. So this is really good, and we are actually more than halfway through up in here, you guys, and unfortunately I'm definitely gonna have to skip some of these because it just depends. I'm gonna have to do a little proofreading, but we've got some good ones coming up in the next couple of days, people, so prepare thyself. Prepare ye the way of the minute sketch of composers. I'm on another level right now. I gotta go. I think I really need this day off tomorrow. I think it's gonna be excelente. There's nothing quite like going to bed and not setting an alarm. Maybe I'll order some Thai food. I haven't ordered food. Like, I have not ordered takeout in like over a month. I'm like racking my brain, but I'm pretty sure. So maybe I won't. Who needs it? Who cares? I've got food here. All right, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We've been just real cash these past couple of days. I'm sorry that I was kind of a little bit frustrated yesterday. Still a little bit feeling that way today, but we're getting through it. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, go ahead and subscribe. You can be notified whenever I post, which is in fact every day. If you hit that bell icon, that will notify you whenever I post. And yes, you can comment if you want. You can like this video if you want. I don't know. I say this every day and I still don't know what to say. All right. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night whenever you're watching/listening to this. And I will see you all in the next one. Okay? All right, love you, mean it, bye. Oh, perfect timing. The record just stopped. Oh my God. Sorry. Had to tell you. All right, gotta go flip that thing. Bye.